Hi, welcome to this tutorial on MIDI basics. What is MIDI? You all use it even if you don't know you're using it. Whenever you make a software instrument track in Logic Pro, you are creating effectively a MIDI track that talks to an internal instrument. It's useful to know what MIDI is. MIDI was invented for a very simple reason. Synthesizer manufacturers found that they were coming up with more and more new and interesting sounds, and every time they made a new synthesizer they had to also manufacture these bits of black and white plastic, the piano keys, to make the synthesizer make a sound. And so keyboard players were buying more and more of these, and every time a new synthesizer came out that had a great new sound that they wanted, they went out and bought it. They also had to buy the pieces of plastic, the keyboard, and you ended up with just mountains and mountains of keyboards around you. You might only use one sound from each of those keyboards, but you had to have all of these piano keys. And the instrument manufacturers thought, you know what, it would be a really good idea if we could just sell the bit of the box that makes the sound without having to sell the keyboard as well, which means that we have to devise a way of telling the synthesizer what note to play and when. So they thought, okay, if we assign every key on the piano keyboard a number, let's say middle C is 63, C sharp above it is 64, the D above it is 65, the D sharp above that is 66, and so on. And if we go downwards, the B below middle C is 62, the B flat below middle C is 61, and so on and so on. Every key on the keyboard has got its own number. Therefore, if I press that key, a number goes out that tells every other synthesizer that's connected to play that note. So now, if you want to buy my latest exciting new sounding synthesizer, you only have to buy one of these instead of buying all of this with it. And they're connected with a MIDI cable. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And they're connected with a cable, so when I press that key, this synthesizer makes a sound. And you could connect as many as you like. Now there's an obvious problem there, which is that if I've got 5 different boxes connected to my MIDI keyboard, when I press that key, all of them will play a note, which is not what I want, is it? I only want this one, or the second, or the third one in the row to play. So, why don't we allow each instrument to be set to a different channel? So when I press a note, not only does a note number go out that says this is middle C, but it has a channel number with it. So this device can be set to respond only to channel 1. The next box in the chain will only listen to channel 2. The next box only to channel 3, and so on and so forth. It's kind of similar to your TV setup, where you've got one cable that comes into your house, but you can have a TV set, a set-top recorder box, a VCR if you've still got one, another TV set, and you can say to this TV set, you watch channel 1, while the set-top recorder is only recording on channel 4, and the other TV in the kitchen is watching channel 582 if you've got one of the digital cable channels. So we've got each key generates a note number. The note number is accompanied by a channel number that tells it what channel it's meant to be on. So far so good, but there's one more thing we need, which is this. Not all notes are played at the same volume, are they? When you play, some of them are softer, some of them are harder. So they devised a way of measuring how fast you press the key, because if you play loud, you tend to press the key much faster. If you play gently, you press the key softer. And so each MIDI note number also has a number called a velocity number attached to it, which tells the receiving synthesizer how hard to play that note. Okay, we're going to flip across to Logic now and see this stuff in action. Okay. We are now going to look at MIDI in action in Logic. I'm going to create a new project, just a blank project. I'm going to create one new software instrument track. Remember, this is not for recording sound, this is for recording MIDI information. If I go to my piano roll in the bottom half of the window, I'll see that I've got my keyboard. And if I click on any of the keys, I get a note. So, I'm not even going to record in from a keyboard. I'm going to go and choose my pencil tool, and I'm going to draw on bar 1 at beat 1 a note of C. There it is. And I'm going to also open from the window menu an event list. This is a list of MIDI events, and we can see them in great detail, and you can see straight away this MIDI event is at position bar 1 beat 1. It's a note event, it's on channel 1, it's a note number of C2, and this value is 80. That's the velocity value, and it's 1 quarter beat, a 16th beat long. Now, let's say I want that note louder. If I change the velocity number, I should be able to make it louder. Let's see what happens if I crank that up to 127. Not only has the color changed, but you'll hear it's much louder. If I take the velocity number right down, it's almost inaudible. So I'll put it back up somewhere near the middle. And we can hear, we can change the velocity of the note just by changing the loudness of the note, just by changing the velocity number. I can also change the note itself, whether by changing it in the event list or by changing it in this window, and I can change the length of it by using the left corner trim tool. Now look, the length has changed to a bar. It's still the same velocity, but let's crank it up a little, and it's still a note of C. So that is a simple example of a MIDI note with all of its information. Channel, the note number, the velocity or loudness, and its length.